Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and this is the Alicia Dion channel. While you're here, why not hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and why not drop a comment in the comment section below. Here we talk about everything IBS, IBD, bloating and gut health. I recently did a video where I went over the most common reasons for bloating. And in that video, I addressed things like oesophageal, eating too fast, overeating, constipation and food intolerances, and all the ways in which you can understand these things. And then I gave you some top tips on how you can reduce bloating and reduce the ways that these things have effects on your body. If you haven't yet seen that video, why not check it out? I will link it up there for you and also drop it in the comment section below. Probably go check it out before this video because they're all gonna link together. The thing is, when I finished doing that video, I didn't feel like I'd addressed everything I wanted to. There were so many more reasons that you could be bloated and I couldn't include them in the video because it would have been like 25 minutes long. But I really didn't want anyone who watched that video who was searching for a reason as to why they might be bloated all the time and then not find it. So I thought I would do you guys a part 2. And in this video, we're also going to talk about foods that cause bloating. Because whilst talking about foods is all well and good, unless I go into the specifics of it, you're going to have no idea what to avoid or why they happen in the first place. And I could not possibly fit all of that information into part 1. And that's why we've made part 2. So today we're going to talk about the most common reasons for bloating and address foods that cause bloating. Common reason for bloating number 1: inactivity and not enough exercise. I've said it before and I will say it again. When you move, your gut moves. Sitting for long periods of time can cause your abdomen to be compressed, and this can slow down digestion. And slowing down digestion to lead to foods irritating your gut and your intestines, leading to bloating, constipation, heartburn, indigestion, and so many more horrible symptoms. Also, in recent studies, inactivity has been proven to increase severe symptoms of anxiety and depression. And this can trigger something called fight or flight. I've spoken about fight or flight many times before. And when your body's in a state of stress, it enters fight or flight mode and then shuts down digestion, again leading to slower digestion and food being in there for longer periods of time. Fight or flight means that digestion shuts down. This means that food is sat there longer and then it will irritate your gut and cause you to bloat. Also, inactivity has been linked with lower levels of serotonin, which is linked with constipation. Constipation is going to cause you to be more bloated and more uncomfortable. If you want to learn more about fight or flight, it's a really interesting topic and I made an entire video on it, which I will link up there for you and drop in the comment section below. And that video was so interesting for me to make. I had no idea about the majority of it until I studied up, read up, and did hours upon hours of research. So definitely go check that video out at some point. Exercise can pretty much fix this problem as long as you don't take the inactivity aspect of it too lightly. When I talked about your abdomen being compressed, that means you're sitting down for too long periods of time. So doing one stint of 30 minutes of exercise in the day and spending the rest of the day sat still will probably still lead to bloating. Yes, it will help for sure. What's really important is to stand up and do a stretch or a walk about the house for 5 minutes every hour. This means that your stomach has a chance to breathe, it has a chance to expand and also process anything that's in it. So doing more exercise can reduce stress, anxiety and depression. And it can also increase serotonin, which leads to less constipation. This improves bowel regularity, and also it can lead to reduced cortisol, which in turn leads to less stress and will lead to better gut motility. So it really is incredible all the things that exercise can do for you in your gut. So try to decrease the amount that you're inactive. Make sure that you're moving every hour throughout the day and doing at least 30 minutes of exercise 5 times a week. If this is new to you, start off slow and you can always talk to your doctor first if you're worried or new at exercise. Most common reason for bloating number 2, moving while eating. When I first put this tip into my script ready to talk to you guys about it, I thought it was going to be to do with the fact that your body just didn't like it and therefore you became bloated. It is so much more complicated than that. As you guys well and truly know, when you eat food, you put it into your mouth. Then you chew the food and swallow it and it moves down your esophagus and into your stomach. Now, at the very bottom of your esophagus and at the top of your stomach, there is something called the lower esophageal sphincter, otherwise known as the LES. Now this is basically a valve, and when you've eaten food and it's gone into your stomach, it closes. And what this does, it stops any stomach acid or hydrochloric acid from coming up, going up your esophagus and into your mouth, which would cause nausea, acid reflux, indigestion, and lots of other nasty symptoms. Now this is where it gets really interesting. When you're moving around, your LES, your lower esophageal sphincter, fails to close or remains open for prolonged amounts of time. I don't know why, but it does. It does not enjoy us moving around whilst we're eating. And if you watched my video from a couple of weeks ago, you know all about stomach acid and hydrochloric acid. And basically this valve's point is to stop this hydrochloric acid making it up your esophagus. But stomach acid can make its way up and food can repeat on you if this valve isn't closed properly. And it can also lead to more gas production, which would lead to more bloating. Another reason that you shouldn't eat food whilst you're on the move is indigestion. When you eat food, it travels to your stomach and digestive enzymes, stomach acid, and your gut flora all work together to break it down into the smallest possible component it can, ready for digestion and ready for nutrition to be taken from it in your lower intestines. However, when you're moving around and eating, food cannot be broken down as efficiently as it normally would, nor as effectively, which means it's not broken down into its smallest component. This means that larger chunks of food are entering your small and larger intestines. And because they're not supposed to be that big nor supposed to be there, they can cause some serious irritation. Not only does this cause serious irritation, but because those chunks of food are slightly too big, nutrition can't be taken from them. And because nutrition can't be taken from them, the body goes into a state of sluggishness and lethargy. It's working so hard to deal with these larger chunks of food and it's getting nothing in return. So this is why it's one of the most common reasons for bloating and why you should definitely think twice before you start eating on the go. Most common reason for bloating number 3, eating fatty foods. Fatty foods take much longer to be broken down and therefore they spend much more time in the digestive system between the time you eat them and the time that you pass them. Most of the body's enzymes are water-based, and if you've ever put water into an oily pan after cooking, you know that oil and water don't mix. When you eat fatty foods, your body has to use a specific type of enzyme in order to break it down. The breaking down of fats starts in your mouth with specific types of enzymes that can be used to help. It then moves on to the stomach where specific enzymes help to break down the fat even further. But the majority of the digestion process for fats takes place in the intestines. It's thought that 2 to 4 hours after digestion, only 30% of the fat is actually broken down. I won't go through the whole process with you, but I am telling you it is long. I read paragraph after paragraph of stages of the breakdown of fat, and I'm telling you, no other water-based foods do that. There is so much more energy that's put into breaking down fats, and it seems to be a real struggle for our body, not to mention so much more time consuming. And like you guys already know, if food is there longer, it irritates the intestines, it irritates your stomach, and it causes bloating, constipation, heartburn, indigestion, and so much more. Not only this, but because it's so complex, it's more likely to go wrong. Apparently, not only does it need specific enzymes, but it needs specific conditions. And if those conditions are disturbed, the digestion of fats might not be completed, and this will lead to fatty stools. So the next time you're doing your meal plan, make sure to think about how many fatty foods you have going into your system in a week, because your body is working overtime in order to achieve that. And if you're really stressed, your gut-brain axis might not be strong enough for it to all go along smoothly. Most common reason for bloating, number 4, IBS, IBD, and SIBO. Yeah, I had to make this a reason. It is a reason. It's the cause of so much bloating and discomfort in so many members of the population. If you don't remember SIBO, that's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that means that there's an overgrowth of bacteria in your small intestine. IBS is irritable bowel syndrome, and IBD is inflammatory bowel disease. All of those things can cause bloating, indigestion, heartburn, the will to live. Jesus. It's so tough, and I'm here with you, and I feel for you, and I hear you. These things can be so hard to deal with, but I think the best bit of advice I can give to you is educate yourself. Literally making these videos has changed the way I treat my body every single week. I learn something new, I change something, and every week it gets better. And I'm not just saying this so you jump on down to that subscribe button. I'm saying it because I want to help as many people as I can. I really think that the more you know about bloating and the more you know about the circumstances that control it, the better you can deal with it in your everyday life. So the next time you feel like binging some content, why not head over to my channel? Just enjoy the content and learn what you can, because so much of it can change the way you make decisions about what you eat, what you put into your body, what activities you do, and how much stress you allow people to put you through. Because healthy boundaries are a massive part of reducing stress and anxiety in modern day. And it's really important that you exercise that right and put your health and yourself first. Most common reason for bloating, number 5, and our final reason for today, is all the different types of foods. The reason that you clicked on this video. So, let's talk about the different foods that affect your bloating, digestion, and so much more. I am going to put my glasses on for this section of the video. you will be able to just see the reflection of my garden. I'm very sorry. So where should we start? Let's start with beans. Beans are so good for you. They are full of lots of really healthy carbohydrates. They're full of protein, and they can be jam-packed with minerals, vitamins, and all that good stuff. They're also rich in fiber, which will help you with things like constipation. However, they do contain a sugar called alpha-galactosides, and I think I'm saying that right, but every time I say it, I'm like, Battlestar Galactica? Galactosides? Is that right?
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Bears do not... What is going on? What are you doing?
But anyway, alpha Battlestar Galactica-sides, that's not right. Alpha galactosides. Alpha galactosides are part of the FODMAP section of foods. That was smooth, Alicia. You got through that sentence really well. FODMAP. You've probably all heard of FODMAP. FODMAP, and I'm not going to try and say this without reading it because I will just muck it up and you'll spend 10 minutes watching me read the wrong thing over and over and over again. Right. FODMAP stands for fermented oligo-di-monosaccharides and polyols. And basically, these are short-chain carbohydrates that escape digestion, and then when they're in the gut, they ferment and produce gas in your colon, which leads to bloating. So obviously, we want to be avoiding those foods. What I would say here is maybe go again with a possible food diary like I mentioned in the part 1 of this video, because beans are so good for you, so you don't want to be cutting them out for no goddamn reason. So see what your body can deal with and see what you can do in order to keep the good stuff in your diet but also avoid stuff that's making you bloat. The second one on our list is lentils. They have lots of protein, fiber, carbs, and they're really good for you, again packed with minerals and vitamins and all of that good stuff. However, they also contain FODMAPs, things that are going to escape digestion, make their way to your colon, and then just ferment and make you feel like crap. It's even noted that these might produce excessive amounts of gas. But interestingly, soaking or sprouting lentils before you eat them can make them much easier on the digestive system. So maybe look into this in order to keep the healthiness in your diet, but not deal with the horrible repercussions. This next one isn't even really a food. I mentioned it in my last video. I'm gonna mention it. I'm not gonna go into much detail about it because you guys understand why this is very simple. Carbonated drinks. Don't have too many of them. They contain air. Air goes into your stomach, makes you bloated. There you go, done. Next up, we have wheat. Now, people who have a gluten intolerance wouldn't be eating wheat because wheat contains gluten. And I talked more about food intolerances in the part 1 of this series. But you can find wheat in things like bread, pizza dough, baked goods like cakes and biscuits, pancakes, waffles, and so much more. If you have a gluten intolerance, you're already cutting these things out of your diet because eating them would cause you just hell. But if you don't have a gluten intolerance and therefore you eat wheat, it's good to know that once again, wheat is full of FODMAPs. This one might be a really good one to watch. Instead of cutting out gluten, maybe cut out wheat. And if you find you get lots of relief after cutting wheat out for a couple of weeks, then maybe you can change to some alternatives. These would include gluten-free alternatives, such as buckwheat, quinoa, almond flour, coconut flour, and pure oats. The next one we're going to talk about has one of my favourite words in this entire video, which is cruciferous. I love that word. Don't you just think that word is fun? I think I'm a child. I think I have humour issues. Anyway, so the ones you want to watch out for are broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables. These include things like cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and several others. It's actually a great excuse to not eat your Brussels sprouts on Christmas Day. However, I really like Brussels sprouts. Shouldn't really eat them because they do make me bloat a little bit. But I love Brussels sprouts, and it's only once a year. There are other alternative vegetables that you can use, that you can eat, which don't involve so many FODMAPs. Things like spinach, cucumber, lettuce, sweet potatoes, and zucchini. Next up, we have a devil vegetable. I have issues with this. I still eat it every week. I don't understand why whoever was up there, when they invented IBS, and they invented this particular vegetable, why? Why did they do it to us? And why is it in every food? Like every burger, every pasta-based dish, every casserole? Why? Do you know what I'm talking about? Onions. They are so freaking popular and they can make people bloat so horrendously. I'm quite lucky. I don't have it that bad with them and I just kind of accept them as part of my diet. I wouldn't be able to cut out like all of my favourite meals other than maybe enchiladas and fajitas. No wait, fajita has onion in it. Wait, so does enchilada. This is what I mean. Enchilada isn't, no. Onion is in everything. Enchiladas aren't in everything, but how good would that be? The reason that onions are so bad for bloating is because they're the main dietary source of fructans, and I think I'm saying that right. Fructans are soluble fibers that can cause bloating, and it doesn't help that quite a lot of people are either sensitive or intolerant to onion, especially raw onion. If your bloating is out of control and you have no idea what it is, this might be another good thing to cut out of your diet and see how you get on. It won't be easy. It's in a lot of stuff, and you'll have to home make a lot of meals like spaghetti bolognese or any of the meals I mentioned earlier, but it can be done and it could improve your quality of life quite rapidly. The last one I'm going to talk about I've chosen quite specifically, and I've chosen it because if you're watching this video or the previous video and you think constipation is one of your big problems, you might be about to start a life of high fiber, exercise and hydration, and I applaud you. Well done, that's a brilliant place to start. However, if you're not used to a high fiber diet, you could have some serious repercussions. So the exercise, go for it at your own pace. Hydration, you can start that now or tomorrow. You're not going to have really any negative effects from that. But fiber, be careful. When it comes to things like barley, for example, their fiber content is so high that the whole grain barley itself may be causing you to be bloated because your system isn't used to that amount of fiber. And that means it's having to reshuffle everything that it normally does and get used to this new way of living. It will in the end be a good thing. It will help you be more regular, and it'll also encourage you to eat foods that are better for you and more nutritious. But like anything, take your time with it. Make sure that you speak to a doctor if you have any concerns and break it in slowly. Thank you so much for tuning in with me for Most Common Reasons of Bloating Part 2. I'm so glad that I got to make the second part, and I really hope that if the first one wasn't for you, that you found something in this one that helped you understand why you're bloated all the time. I also hope that you understand the foods that are going to cause bloating and abdominal discomfort, and also given you some ideas on how you can get around those things. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to jump on down to that subscribe button. If you have any questions or anything you want to add, just drop it in the comment section below. It's all about learning from each other. And also, if you have any videos that you want to see coming your way, also drop them in the comment section below and I'll see what I can do. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I will link my handle for you right there. It is Scribbles by Alicia. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye!